So this is a test of something that I saw on the blog of Goblin's Henchman. And if you're not familiar with Goblin's Henchman, has done a lot of work with what are called Hex Flowers, where you put pretty much anything, weather, rooms in a dungeon. In this case, what we're going to be working with today is terrain, and it serves as what he calls a random table with a memory, which is to say that the last roll affects the next roll, and it's structured in such a way that you roll 2d6 and you're more likely to move one way or another on what he calls the Hex Flower. And I'm going to link his blog. It's some good stuff, and he's got some good materials on Drive-Thru RPG as well that explain the Hex Flower concept. But it's just an idea that instead of just having an absolutely random table where you have equal chances of anything happening all the time, where the last roll will affect the probability of the next roll. And his most recent blog post has to do with doing the same thing with dice. In this case, he's talking about terrain and structuring 12-sided dice, since 12-sided dice are, just because of their number of faces, can kind of emulate the Hex Flower, would allow you to do that kind of thing with terrain, where maybe terrain will make more sense rather than just having random terrain where you have an equal chance to roll, say, forest next to desert, next to hill, next to a mountain, and it all doesn't really blend together. And I thought I'd kind of test that out. So I bought some of these blank D12s off of, I believe it was Dice Shop Online. Yeah, the Dice Shop Online. And I filled them in with the different types of terrain, and each die has a dominant terrain type, but it also has other terrain types. So the probability of rolling the same terrain type all the time, for example, this is mountains, and it has 5 spots for mountains, but then it also has hills. It has essentially desert, arid lands is what he calls them, forest, that kind of thing. And there's several different kinds. There's one for mountains, one for hills, one for forest, one for grasslands or plains, and one for arid land. And then the question marks are for special types of terrain where you want to add some kind of special feature. And the only thing I've really changed from what he put together, the probabilities, is for the dominant type on any given die, I made one blue to indicate there was some kind of water feature, because that's one thing that was missing from the dice. The way he had them out was water features, although he did mention that if you came up with your special, you could have like a lake or something. But I always think of like mountains, and especially mountains and hills, having rivers running through them. So I thought we'd roll these a few times and see how well things kind of put together. So I'm going to start with this mountain die. So we'll do some mountains right here in the middle of our hex, and we'll roll and see what we get next. We get more mountains. This one's got a river through it, so I'm just going to put that mountain there and kind of start a river running. And we got the same thing again. That probably was not a great roll, but it does give you a consistent river through there. And that's a special, and for that you roll the special die and see you got a 50% chance of getting a special or another terrain type to verify the special, as it were. And we verified the special. So we're going to put we're going to have this river run into a lake here, and we're going to have maybe a castle of some sort right here. And pardon my drawing, I'm not a good drawer. That looks more like a mushroom. All right, so let's roll the special die until we get terrain type, and we'll kind of change the terrain here. All right, that's an arid, so we'll put kind of like a little, it's kind of going into a desert off of this. Well, you know what? Let's say the mountains are creating a barrier here, so the desert is here, so you don't have the weather coming down this way it's not getting as wet. All right, so now we'll go to the arid die, and this gives us plains. So we're gonna run into some plains here, and I'm just gonna kind of scribble that in. That's not a good. I just put a wavy line for plains because he had a horse, and I knew I was not going to be able to draw a horse. So now we'll go to our plains die, and we go back to the arid. So it would make sense that that would be kind of, say, right here. And so we'll go back to our arid die again, and more plains. So it's kind of we're creating some terrain kind of together here. So we'll go back to our plains die, and that's more plains. So more plains there, and yet more plains there. And then this is plains with a river. So we've got some kind of maybe a river feature coming through, maybe on this edge of the plains. And more plains. We'll run that plains there. Uh-oh, dropping pencils. More plains. And there's a river, so it just has the river here. So we're just gonna say that river runs through there. So it gives you a little more cohesiveness, and you can use the terrain type to determine which die to roll. You're more likely to roll that type. So if we go back to the mountains, we'll go back to the mountain die here. We got some hills, so now we have some foothills here on this other end of the mountain here. So now we go to the foothills die. And we got a forest, so we'll put a little forest here, some happy little trees, as it were. We hope they're happy little trees anyway. We'll go to our forest die, back to the hills. So, you know, I'm not predetermining which hex I'm in, so that helps you keep the terrain types together. But it does seem to work pretty well. So you have a 5 in 12 chance of staying in the same terrain type, and then a 6 in 6 chance of changing terrain outright, and then 1 chance out of 12 on these dice to get your special, where you can add castles or cities or lakes and things like that. So that's it. That's all I want to do. I want to test it out. I like it. I like the way it works. Thanks for watching.